In September of grade 12, the Matric dance was coming up. This was the big one. One afternoon, Tom came by my house and we started talking about the dance. I told him I didn't have a date. "I can get you a girl to go with you to the dance," he said. "If you give me a better cut on the CDs I'm selling, plus a bunch of free music for myself, I'll come back with the most beautiful girl you've ever seen in your life, and she'll be your date for the dance." Okay, I'll take that deal because it's never gonna happen. The dance was still 2 months away. I promptly forgot about Tom and his ridiculous deal. Then, he came over to my house one afternoon and popped his head into my room. "I found the girl." "Really?" "Yeah, you have to come and meet her." The two of us jumped on a bus and headed into the city. We found her building, and a girl leaned over the balcony and waved us inside. That was the girl's sister, Lerato, Tom said. Come to find out, he'd been trying to get with Lerato, and setting me up with the sister was his way in. This girl Lerato brought us into the flat. In the living room was this giant woman. I was like, "Oh, Tom, I see what you've done here. Nicely played." "Is this my date?" I asked. No, he said. "This is not your date. This is her older sister. Your date is Babiki. Babiki's gone to the store to buy groceries. She'll be back in a moment." We waited, chatted with the older sister. 10 minutes later, the door opened, and the most beautiful girl I have ever seen in my life walked in. She was, good Lord, beautiful eyes, beautiful golden yellow brown skin. It was like she glowed. No girl at my high school looked anything like her. "Hi," she said. "Hi," I replied. I was dumbfounded. I had no idea how to talk to a girl that beautiful. She was shy and didn't speak much either. "Trevor, this is Babiki. Babiki, Trevor." He went on and on about how great I was, how much she was looking forward to the dance, when I would pick her up for the dance, all the details. We hung out for a few, and then Tom needed to get going, so we headed out the door. Babiki turned and smiled at me and waved as we left. "Bye." "Bye." We walked out of that building, and I was the happiest man on earth. I couldn't believe it. I was the guy at school who couldn't get a date. But now, I was going to the Matric dance with the most beautiful girl in the world. Babiki and I never went on a date alone. It was always the two of us in a group. She was shy, and I was a nervous wreck most of the time. But we had fun. Whenever we'd say goodbye, Babiki would give me a hug, and once she even gave me a little kiss. I was in heaven. I was like, "Yeah, I've got a girlfriend. Cool." As the dance approached, I started getting nervous. I desperately needed something to wear. I was taking out this girl who was really into fashion, and except for my Timberlands, everything I owned was shit. My idea of fashion was a brand of clothing called Powerhouse. The logo was a cartoon of this giant bodybuilding bulldog wearing wraparound sunglasses and smoking a cigar and flexing his muscles. On the pants, he was flexing all the way down your leg. On the shirts, he was flexing across your chest. On the underwear, he was flexing on your crotch. I thought Powerhouse was the baddest thing in the world. Bongani, the other middleman from my CD business, found out I had a date, and he made it his mission to give me a makeover. I told Bongani I wanted a leather coat like Keanu Reeves wore, the ankle-length black one. Bongani shut that down. No. Once we had the outfit, Bongani took a long look at my enormous afro. "We need to fix that fucking hair," Bongani said. "What do you mean?" I said. "This is just my hair." "No, we have to do something." "What would you do with this guy's hair?" The girls looked me over. "He has so much," one of them said. "Why doesn't he cornrow it?" "Shit, yeah," they said. "That's great." I said, "What? Cornrows? No." No, they said. "Do it." The big night finally came. Once I was set, we went to Able to get the keys to the BMW. And that was the moment the whole night started to go wrong. "Can I have the BMW now?" No, we took the Mazda and drove to Babiki's house. I was an hour late picking her up. She was completely pissed off. Tom had to go in and convince her to come out. And eventually, she did. She was even more gorgeous than before, in an amazing red dress, but she was clearly not in a great mood. Tom and the sister gave us a send-off, and we headed out. Then, I got lost. The dance was being held at some venue in a part of town I wasn't familiar with. I drove around for an hour in the dark, going left, going right, doubling back. I was on my cell phone the whole time, desperately calling people, trying to figure out where I was, trying to get directions. Babiki sat next to me, in stony silence the whole time, clearly not feeling me or this night at all. I was crashing hard. I was the worst date she'd ever had in her life. I finally figured out where I was, and we made it to the dance, nearly 2 hours late. I jumped out and ran around to get her door. When I opened it, she just sat there. "Are you ready?" I said. "Let's go in." "No." "No? What do you mean, no?" "No." "Okay, but why?" "No." "But we need to go inside. The dance is inside." "No." I stood there for another 20 minutes, trying to convince her to come inside, but she kept saying no. She wouldn't get out of the car. Finally, I said, "Okay, I'll be right back." I ran inside and found Bongani. "Where have you been?" he said. "I'm here, but my date's in the car and she won't come in." "What do you mean she won't come in?" "I don't know what's going on. Please help me." We went back out to the parking lot. I took Bongani over to the car, and the second he saw her, he lost it. "Jesus in heaven, this is the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. You said she was beautiful, Trevor, but this is insane." In an instant, he completely forgot about helping me with Babiki. He turned, ran back inside, and called to the guys. "Guys, you gotta come see this. Trevor got a date, and she's beautiful. Guys, come out here." 20 guys came running out into the parking lot. They clustered around the car. "Yo, she's so hot. Dude, this girl came with Trevor?" Guys were gawking at her like she was an animal in the zoo. I was mortified. Babiki sat in the passenger seat, staring straight ahead, refusing to budge. I was outside the car, stressed out. Nothing mattered at that point, so I started drinking. I'd f***ed up. The girl didn't like me. The night was done. Most of the guys eventually wandered back inside. I was sitting on the pavement, taking swigs from the brandy bottle, getting buzzed. At some point, Bongani went back over to the car to try one last time to convince Babiki to come in. After a minute, his head popped up over the car with this confused look. "Yo, Trevor," he said, "your date does not speak English." "What?" "Your date. She does not speak any English. That's not possible." I got up and walked over to the car. I asked her a question in English, and she gave me a blank stare. Bongani looked at me. "How did you not know that your date does not speak English?" I started flashing back through all the times I'd been with Babiki, meeting at her flat, hanging out with her friends, introducing her to Abel. Did I talk to her then? No. Whenever we were together, she was speaking Pedi to Tom, and Tom was speaking English to me. But she didn't speak English, and I didn't speak Pedi. But in that moment I realized I'd never actually heard her say anything in English other than yes, no, hi, bye. That's it. Babiki was so shy that she didn't talk much to begin with. And I was so inept with women, I didn't know I was supposed to talk to her. Now, the whole night came rushing back, and I saw it from her point of view. And it was perfectly obvious to me why she didn't want to get out of the car. She probably hadn't wanted to go to the dance with me in the first place. She probably owed Tom a favor, and Tom can talk anyone into anything. I asked Bongani if he spoke Pedi. He didn't. I ran inside to the dance and ran around looking for someone who spoke Pedi to help me to convince her to come in. "Do you speak Pedi? Do you speak Pedi? Do you speak Pedi?" Nobody spoke Pedi. So, I never got to go to my matric dance. Other than the 3 minutes I spent running through it looking for someone who spoke Bedi, I spent the whole night in the parking lot. When the dance ended, I climbed back into the shitty red Mazda and drove Babiki home. We sat in total awkward silence the whole way. I pulled up and sat for a moment as I tried to figure out the polite and gentlemanly way to end the evening. Then, out of nowhere, she leaned over and gave me a kiss. Like a real kiss. A proper kiss. The kind of kiss that made me forget that the whole disaster had just happened. I was so confused. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. She pulled back, and I looked deep into her eyes and thought, I have no idea how girls work. And as she turned to go, I gave her one last little wave. Bye. Bye.